January 6th, the other day you called it a day of love. That sparked a lot of reaction, given that many police officers were attacked and there were mobs shouting, "Hang Mike Pence." Can you understand why many Americans would view it as a dark and tragic day in our history?
The crowd I spoke before, which you rarely see, I have pictures of it, they're massive, but nobody wants to put them in. It was the biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I've spoken to the biggest crowds. I've never seen that many people. A small group of them, and peacefully and patriotically, which nobody uses. My words were peacefully and patriotically. A small group went down to the Capitol, but they came because they thought it was a rigged election. This was a protest against a rigged election, and I can't say exactly the number, but I've had massive crowds, and this was by far the biggest crowd. I've spoken to the crowd at the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial on the 4th of July. This crowd was bigger. And I tell you, there was a beauty to it and there was a love to it that I've never seen before.
But Mr. President,
a small group of people went down to the Capitol, and then a lot of strange things happened, including police ushering them into the Capitol. I mean, you know that. And a lot of strange things. So I'm not referring to that. I'm saying that when I saw that tremendous crowd, the largest group I've ever spoken to, in front of these beautiful monuments, I thought it was actually a beautiful thing. It was a protest.
But
now,
Mr. President,
if other groups protest,
let me jump in, please.
I know, but when other groups protest, whatever they may be protesting, nobody says anything. They have a right to protest.
But there was a lot of violence. 1,200 people pled guilty or were convicted. Almost 600 were charged with assaulting police officers or rioting. Now, you're somebody who says you're on the side of law enforcement, but you seem not to have much sympathy for the police on that day.
No, there's nobody closer to the police than I am. Nobody. But you take a look at Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon, people were killed. There was nobody killed here. Nobody had guns here either.
There were people with guns.
Well, really? I'd like to know. You mean in the rally, or they had some guns at their home?
No,
someplace?
At the rally.
Oh, really? Well, I have not heard that at all. No, I don't think so. They had no guns. They had no guns.
So
that was a peaceful.
So you're comfortable with a day of love?
No,
you wouldn't modify that.
I'm talking about when I made that speech. I've never seen anything like it. They came down to protest a rigged election. Very simple. They protested an election, and you know what? I think you have the right to protest in this country.
Well,
if anybody else protests, nobody does anything about it. Take a look at Portland.
Right, but you're going back to another situation. I'm talking about that day.
I'm talking about another situation. People got killed. They destroyed the city. They've broken all the storefronts. They tried to tear down the federal courthouse. Take a look at Seattle. They took over Seattle. They took it over. They took over.
Nobody's condoning that either.
Of course. Well, no, but nothing happened to the people that did it. They're not in jail. There's nobody in jail. Take a look at Minneapolis, the city of this wacky governor, this wacky guy that runs it that's now trying to be vice president. That was death, and it was fire. Nobody's ever seen anything. The whole city looked like it was burning down. Nothing happened to those people. The only thing that happened to are these people. Take a look more recently. More recently, about 2 months ago, they had a really bad situation where they put graffiti all over the beautiful limestone lines. They can never be the same because limestone's a soft stone, and the stuff will go inside the paint. But they put spray paint on top of lions. It'll be there in 100 years. You're going to see it. No, but they had vicious rights. They were attacking the cops. Nothing happened to them. Only to these people. And I just want fairness. That's all.
General Jim Mattis, who was your Secretary of Defense, has now joined General Mark Milley, who was your Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, in saying, this is their quote, you are the most dangerous person ever. I assume you'd like to respond.
Well, they were not my cup of tea. They were woke. You know that. They were not great generals, in my opinion. I was asking them advice. I didn't agree with the advice. Look at the advice that Milley gave to Biden on Afghanistan. Move the soldiers out first. No, you have to move the soldiers out last. I don't respect them as soldiers. I never did. I fired them both. I let them resign, but I fired them both. I got them out. in the form of Mattis. The other one I didn't. I didn't listen to his advice very much because
you're
I didn't respect
dismissing what
and
you're
some
saying
others.
about
And
you.
I did respect others. My generals, where I beat, as you know, I defeated ISIS. It was supposed to take years, and I got it done very quickly. Had great generals that I dealt with. I don't consider those people great generals. I think Mattis was a wash and not very good. And I think that Milley was terrible. I watched his performances in Congress, and I thought he was terrible. And he told me the same thing about Afghanistan. I said, we want to get out. I was prepared to get out. I was going to keep Bagram, but I would have been out before Biden. Milley said we should leave all of the military equipment behind. I said, why would you do that? Would you leave a $150 million jet fighter? Yes, sir, it's cheaper, sir. And I started to realize, and to me, he wasn't my cup of tea. I can give you, I just had, I was very honored by it. 300 and some odd people signed a major letter saying that I was a great commander-in-chief, and they were all top intelligence people and military people.
So therefore you're dismissing Mattis and Milley.
Well, I just didn't respect them. I didn't think they were good. And Mattis I fired. I said, give me a letter, but fired. And Milley I would have fired, but the time was, pretty short, so I just left him. But I thought Milley was terrible. I thought what he did for Biden, and he blames Biden on top of everything else. He blames Biden for the catastrophe. The most embarrassing day in the history of our country, I believe, or moment in time, was Afghanistan. The way they did that, taking the soldiers out first. We would have been out of there so good that, we had conditions. We had a very strong condition. You take the soldiers out last, but Milley should have been fired, immediately should have been fired. Everybody having to do with the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the withdrawal was fine, but the way they did it was so bad. Should have been fired. No, I didn't respect Milley, and I didn't respect Mattis. I respect a lot of people. But you mentioned a couple of hundred people. These were people, a lot of them I fired. I thought they were no good. What you didn't say is that a letter came in just recently. I had nothing to do with it. Over 300 people that work in government said I was the best president they've ever had.
To clarify, police did not usher protesters into the Capitol. They were totally overrun, though in some cases they may have beaten a tactical retreat. Donald Trump continues to argue, as you know, that the last election was rigged, though that's never been proven in any of the lawsuits filed.